So we're back at it with Park Place, and they've got a very interesting article here titled Activist Organization That Encouraged Game Developers to Denounce Gamers. Yeah, that's a genius suggestion right there, right? Encourage game devs to denounce the people that they need for their games. Anyways, continuing, says that organization is now begging for $80,000 in order to remain open. The organization being discussed here is called Take This. Now, this might sound familiar to you because I did cover this organization a few months back. Now, that video, as you can see, ended up being just over 8 minutes long, so I don't want to recap the entire thing here, but there's definitely some important key areas to take note of, which I'll attempt to summarize as briefly as possible right here now, before we move back to the current news. So back in March of 2024, Take This began to get a lot of public attention from gamers after they released a blog post titled Responding to GamerGate2. That blog post seemingly in response to the criticism that consulting firm Sweet Baby Inc. was getting from gamers, where many people would say that blog post was spreading a ton of misinformation about gamers. And while they attempted to defend Sweet Baby Inc., they conveniently left out how an apparent employee over at SBI was seen calling for violence against Jewish people, as well as various comments that many have seen as disparaging white people. They also didn't mention any of the targeted harassment that a Brazilian individual was getting from an apparent narrative designer over at SBI. This is all especially noteworthy because Take This seems to have some sort of anti-harassment stance, yet their statement mentioned nothing about any of that going on at SBI and even seemed to defend them. Now, a bit more information on Take This themselves. They claim to be a 501c3 nonprofit mental health organization with a focus on games, gamers, and developers. Here's another page that talks about what they do. It's an unfortunate reality that many nonprofits are actually highly corrupt and don't truly care about the things that they claim to care about and or do. Instead, they're more focused on trying to make money off their nonprofits. And based on the actions of Take This, I have to wonder if they're one of those. Speaking about that, as mentioned at the start of this video, it looks like Take This is now trying to ask people for $80,000. They released this image saying Take This will close unless we raise $80K by 9:30. We're doing everything possible to prevent shutting down. Please help us by sharing and or directly giving. Help Take This from closing its doors. Give today. That's not even the first time this year that they've asked people for a significant amount of money. Back on March 5th, 2024, they released another post that included asking people for $200,000 funding by June. I wonder if it's coincidence that later that month, they would write that now infamous post defending Sweet Baby Inc. Maybe they thought they could get a little bit of money from their corpo buddies or some of their defenders. And furthermore, get this, back at that Park Place, they would write how Take This received funding from the US government, specifically $700,000 in grant money from the Department of Homeland Security for the department's targeted violence and prevention capabilities. Nearly $700,000. And it looks like that money was potentially given to them in 2022. In other words, just a few years ago. All that money, plus earlier in 2024 as mentioned, asking for another $200,000 and now another $80,000, may make someone wonder, how are they burning through so much money? And may cause people to speculate that they may be using this nonprofit to pad their own wallets for their own financial gain. Let's go back to their own website and take a look at their section titled Our Programs. Let's see specifically like what they do, what these programs are. So they've got the Accelerate program, which they say is a groundbreaking new mentorship and career development initiative in collaboration with Riot Games. Okay, so Riot Games is helping out with that one. They've got AFK rooms, saying they serve 13,000 individuals since 2016 in need of a quiet, supportive space at conventions in their AFK rooms. Okay, so this is odd to me because I've been to a lot of conventions, including some of the largest in the country. And from the ones that I've been to, this is already a thing that conventions have. It's just simply like a convention designating a room where people have to be quiet when they're in there. So some people may use that to get away from all the noise of a convention, de-stress, relax, etc., etc. And I don't see why any convention would need Take This to organize that for them when it's literally as simple as the convention being like, hey, we're going to designate that room as a quiet room. Moving on, they have the Ambassador program that they say reaches more than 135,000 people every week with positive messages about mental health and positive, exciting streams. They have industry consulting and workshops, which, as I saw from their own video, seems like these presentations they do at places where they do like these PowerPoint looking slideshow things. Okay, but that can't be using that much money, I imagine. And finally, they say information, which To me, looks like they're talking about the blog post that they run on their website, essentially. So yeah, in my opinion, the stuff that they offer doesn't seem very expensive to run. Furthermore, as a nonprofit, they would likely also be utilizing lots of volunteer work, and yet somehow they seem to be burning through a lot of money. So once again, just in my opinion, this stuff really doesn't seem to be adding up. That Park Place concluding by talking about how the organization's research director recently resigned and how once again they're now begging for $80,000. Finally concluding by mentioning the DHS funding stuff that we went over earlier. And it sure is odd how taxpayer dollars went towards funding frivolous anti-gamer rhetoric. Now, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you enjoyed my coverage, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.